Anyway, so Sukhasana, cross-legged, with a blanket under the shins on 2 blocks. Attention to the heart, breathing through the nose, shoulders down. And a relaxed, very, very relaxed awareness of the heart, very, very relaxed. Hands to the heart. The heart is lifted, the head is lowered. And so we quite literally dwell in the heart center or abide in the heart center. And passing through the heart center as we move and Bija mantra through the central channel, we'll pass it from the pelvic floor through piercing through the heart center chakra and up right out through the crown of the head. So we'll take a deep breath for this. Om. Deep breath in. Om. And then relax with the breath out. Interlace the fingers, stretch the arms diagonally down, raise the arms up. As the arms go up, make sure to draw the tummy back gently, exploratively, so that as the tummy goes back, the quadratus lumborum or lower back muscles from the crest of the pelvis to the beginning of the ribs, they lift up. So here there's really lovely meditative lift, explorative lift, with no holding of the breath, that's natural. Perhaps there's movement that you can use to recruit or discover or bring along various muscle fibers so that in the end, every single muscle fiber is only doing this. It takes time and it conduces to what yoga calls samadhi, when every single muscle tissue is only doing this. Now, we often think of samadhi as meditative absorption, and indeed it is, but we might think that's attained through some sort of mental concentration, some sort of mental aerobics, but because it's in yoga, everything's everything. If you get every single muscle fiber doing this, you recruit them, you discover them, you engage them, you invite them. That constitutes samadhi, as you will experience. Take a big wide circle. Hands are going to rest on the legs, palms facing up. And Jnana Mudra. Jnana Mudra is this knowing mudra. So Jnana means to know. So there's a receptiveness to it. Release and wiggle. Could be the catchphrase of Vajrasati 2025. We'll see. Release and wiggle. Once you've released and wiggled, that is your fingers, we're going to take the blanket out and stretch our legs out in front of us. Now we're still on 2 blocks, so that should give us plenty of scope so that we can fold one leg back. But if you need to sit on another block, by all means do. We're folding one leg back so that the inner ankle rests to the outside of the outer hip. And then we bend the other leg as well. And simply wrap your fingers around the shin. Gently lift your chest. So we're sitting on 2 blocks, possibly 3, in this homage to Crown Chasana. I'm pretty confident that no matter what range of motion the body can express, everyone can get meditative benefit from exploration of this pose, even in this station. So you can breathe into the groin, you can breathe into the buttocks, you can lift the chest, breathe through your nose. Importantly, don't hold the breath. Importantly, let everything arrive here, letting go of the past and the future, and even ideas about yourself in the present, to be just fully given to this moment, to be given to this moment. And as this moment impresses itself, as we allow it in, the body releases the past in the form of attachments, energetic attachments, physical attachments to ideas and opinions, anxieties and expectations and so on. And therefore, we can be fully open to here and now, which is what love is. Now we're going to lean back and lift up the shin. Breathe through your nose if you can. And that should affect some more stretch across the rectus femoris as it goes from the thigh to the pelvis. Most of us are getting plenty like this, but you can straighten the leg if you want, bringing the fingers either behind the thigh or walking towards your foot and lifting the chest. So these are all options, meditative options, are based on breathing into it. Obviously, we're all breathing, otherwise it will be a bit of a nightmare. Okay, well done. Wherever you're at, bring yourself down, extend that leg out, lean to release the other leg gently, keep hold of it. Extend, give yourself a little energy bath, make it vigorous. I don't know why I said little. Give yourself an energy bath. Let's take the word little out. Just make it thorough, make it proper, so that you actually feel energy, so you're not sort of messing around, as it were. And miss nowhere. Don't miss any part, not even the back of the heels. Don't miss anywhere. And once you've really given energy all over, then of course, you know what to do. The other leg folds back. The shin just draws under as the thigh rolls out. You sit up tall and light and breath-centered, breathing through the nose if you can. Again, we'll fold back the other leg and around the shin. Elevated chest. Nasal breathing. Really let the bum relax. Calm, relaxed, meditative. Letting the thigh relax, letting everything settle. Letting everything settle. As everything settles, again, we can lean back and see if we can pick up the foot. And the focus, I think, is really useful to have the focus on the rectus femoris as it goes across the thigh into the pelvis. And then focus in this sense means breathing into it. Means letting go of that which is resistant to it, which is normally attachments to the future or the past, or ideas about oneself in the present. So letting go of attachment is how śakti manifests. Śakti being a Sanskrit word for power. It's been appropriated in recent years to equate to a being of the female gender, but that's not actually what Shakti points to. It's power. It is a feminine word in Sanskrit, but power of anybody can enter into Shakti, of any pronoun. And it's an expressive power. Again, if you want, you can try extending the leg, walking up the leg, if you want. Most of us getting plenty out of what we were doing before. Breath is the center of everything. Breath is the center of giving. And giving is the center of love, or the cause of love, or the foundation of love. Giving. If the mind is caught up in the past or the future, or ideas about the self in the present, then it's not available. And it's not to say that we won't have energetic attachments to the past and the future, but it's letting them go at nature's pace rather than deepening them and, creating these deep trenches or vasanas. We let the present begin gently at a natural, kindly pace to release, to cause the release of the past and the future. Just in a natural way, it's not, we're not pretending anything. Nice and easy. When you're ready, bring your leg back down, extend your legs just into a squatting position and take them apart a little way so you can be on 2 blocks or 3 blocks and bring your arms through the inside of your legs, pressing against your legs and bringing the heel of the hand down to the xiphoid cartilage. You might want to lift the bum and readjust its position on the blocks. Feel free to absolutely follow natural instincts. And I think those kind of instincts are really how Shakti happens, because as we make micro adjustments, it inevitably means we're tuning in to this. And just as if you were tuning your radio out of Heart FM, which is what I would do if I'd been to the garage and the mechanics had tuned it into Heart FM, I would definitely tune it out of that. So it's not one of my favorites. And tune it into another. It's the tuning into the other that brings automatically with it the tuning out of what went before. So similarly, tuning into this through exploration means that this imprints into the nerves, and that imprint invites, still at nature's pace, release, natural release. It means we can process things. Things need to be processed through release, not through repression or whatever, but through release. And that happens only as the present comes in. Good. From here, we're going to go ape, which I think is some sort of outdoor activity park in Crawley. I'm not trying to sponsor them, but happy to take donations from them if they want to give me them. We're going to go ape and lift the bum. Yeah, I've mentioned Go Ape twice, so hopefully if there's anyone from Go Ape, they'll make me a Christmas donation, perhaps a free ticket to their amusement park thing. Bending and extending. You can turn your heels out with your ape-like, gorilla-like hands, and then we're going to climb up onto our legs with our hands. Straighten the elbows, but keep the knees bent. Take deeper breaths and move intuitively without having to reference thought. And continue your journey, your ascent, all the way up. We're going to put any debris and detritus that's on our yoga mats to one side. We're going to step towards the short end of our mats, towards the midline of the room, with our feet together. We're going to raise the arms up. Light tone of the tum. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, fold. Hands flat, meaning probably, almost certainly bending the knees. But it's possible that some people have, even if you're practicing in fairly early, quite a wide range of motion. But even then, the back shouldn't experience any dullness, aching, or pain. So doing things like lifting the heels for some people will give a little bit of temporary hamstring extension that will allow the pelvis to tilt and the spine to release. So if the knees aren't bent, and they probably are, and that's as they should be, you could try lifting your heels. That's if you've got a wide range of motion, and seeing if you can get that fold deeper and that hinging deeper. So this, of course, is Uttanasana. We're going to step back to Adho Mukha Svanasana, the downward facing dog position, padding the pause into a deeper weave into the yoga mat without holding the breath. Let's reiterate the contact our hands make with the mat as a meditation. So imagine each molecule on the palms of the hands contacting more deeply, and you might do that by swaying,
feeling the inside, feeling the outside of the palm. But just imagine a deeper merging or knitting in. While we're doing that, you can, of course, bend and extend the knees or extend one calcaneus tendon and then the other, or whatever else works for you. But get the extension up through the armpits to the groins. Well done. Coming down to hands and knees. Being in the basement of the BBC today, we've got the luxury of carpet underneath our knees. But if you're practicing at home and it's uncomfortable on the hands and knees, I guess you could put your mat on carpet if you're someone of a wonderfully rich circumstance that you can afford a house with carpets. Can you imagine the wealth? Anyway, or you could put a blanket down, or maybe you're okay just on your mat as it is. We're coming into Vyagrasana, that is the tiger, breathing through the nose, jaw soft. By raising one leg, let's say the one near me, and the opposite arm, let's say the one furthest from me, we appropriate this sort of tiger stance, like a tiger about to take a huge stride through a forest. But we've got a very light feel to it, so we really want to let it bob around. The tummy has a toned quality to it, so that means it's drawn in and elongated. And we're breathing into the whole process. If you want, some tigers like to reach back for their tails and raise them up. If you want, you could do that. That's optional, of course. And what isn't optional is that the breath should be freely expressive and the body moves in ways that support that free, expressive breath. Well done. Super. Super and duper. Why not? Take a breath or two. And, real loose, really loose. It's breath-centered, really loose. There's quite a lot of stories about tigers in Buddhism, as you can well imagine. Not least one of the Jataka tales where the Buddha is a rabbit and he meets a starving tigress and her cubs. And he's like, I don't know what to do. And she's like, I don't know what you can do. And there's a fire nearby, and the Buddha in his past life just throws himself on the fire. So he becomes dinner for the tigress and her cubs. So that's a story not about throwing yourself on a fire if a tiger's around, but about generosity causing awakening or rebirth as an awakened Buddha. Let's take the other side. So the other leg up and the other arm up. Again, you can play with it so that it feels spacious, investigative, playful. You can raise arms up or legs down or vice versa. You can move inwardly, medially, or laterally. What we don't do is hold the breath, of course. We do tone the tum, keep that lightly toned, and breathe easy and calm. Again, if you wanted to reach back for your tiger tail and raise it up, you could. There's another wonderful tiger story, perhaps I'll get to tell you if there's an appropriate moment in the Zen tradition. So breathing calm, breathing easy. Okay, very calmly back to hands and knees, please. And take 2 or 3 deep breaths, or 4 or 5, just so that the breath's really rolling and the body is echoing that rolling, easy movement. And we're going to take the foot that's furthest away from me and we're going to take it forwards. So it comes onto the little finger side of its own hand. Having done so, we can then play backwards and forwards. You can do things like lift the back knee if you want. You can creep the hands further forwards or further backwards. Sometimes when doing one of those, it may become easier to lower the elbows a little or even a lot. And you can even, if it felt useful, allow your foot to roll. So sometimes people like to roll onto the little toe side of the foot. There's a whole host of ways in which you can experiment, but all of the experiments are trying to evoke the same response, which is a sort of shedding feeling, like a sort of dropping of things that have stuck to us. And I remember recognizing this sort of feeling way before I started yoga of things getting stuck. You kind of feel like you get things stuck to you. In those days, I used to play musical instruments until I felt that shedding effect. So any absorption will do it, including absorption in investigative yoga poses. Nice and calm when you're ready. Release that side, take a breath, perhaps a deep breath, and then same thing on the other side. So the other foot goes on the little finger side of its own hand, as it were. We breathe easy. We investigate forwards and backwards. We investigate lifting, if you want, the back knee. We investigate being higher or lower. I think, the potential variants there's really a lot potential variance when you mix up together knee lifting, toe tucking, rolling on the foot, coming forwards, coming backwards, and so on. There's a lot of variables. Find the sensation and completely let it in, give to it, let it eat you. And in that process, what the nervous system has got attached, what has got stuck to it, begins to be invited to naturally release at its own pace, at what I call nature's pace or Prakriti's pace. This is nothing to do with willful intentions. Oh, down if you're ready. Slow, calm, easy. Coming out of that pose and taking 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 deep breaths, a bit of pelvic movement left and right. We're going to bring the first knee forwards again. This time it's going directly behind its own wrist and the foot's moving diagonally across the body. And we slowly stretch back our other foot, take our own time. And then we'll come down when we're ready to our elbows, forearms, wrists. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Deep, meditative. In other words, breath-centered. Deep, meditative, breath-centered. So stay with the breath. If the mind drifts off into a thought, an idea, a concept, a daydream, that's totally fine. That's the first thing we must always say to ourselves, that's totally fine, So there's no sort of tension, there's only love. And then in that realization, that's all that it takes, is the recognition. Then we're no longer compelled by that distraction because we've allowed it, because we've said that's totally fine. We haven't got further embroiled in it. Not being aware of it, we're embroiled in it. Being aware of it, but not allowing it, we're embroiled in it. But awareness combined with kindly recognition, then you're not embroiled, you're not caught up. Both There's two winners. There's two winners. Both the experience can be natural, can be itself, can be belong to nature, can do what it needs to do. But at the same time, our identity is not caught up with it. We don't feel compelled to repress or to feed or to run with or to run against. Tuck your back toes under and come up by bringing the back knee forwards, coming back to hands and knees, catch your breath. Take 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. And then when you're ready for the other knee to come forwards, it comes forwards. The foot moves diagonally across the body and you stretch back your other leg. Good job. And again, coming down to your elbows, forearms, and wrists. Breathe deep into it without holding the breath. And perhaps there's a bit of movement. Sometimes we take investigative movement. So we might move left or right. Right. Coming up, calm and slow, tucking the back toes under, back knee forwards, back to hands and knees, back into Adho Mukha Svanasana, the downward facing dog position. Breathe deep, breathe honest. Push it up through the back. Stretch open the armpits. Heels gently back, accompanied by back of the thighs forwards and front of the thighs up. That's so subtle that you might need to work on that one leg at a time. So there's a combination combined together of heel back, back of the thigh forwards, front of the thigh, up, top of the front thigh, back, deep belly, extension combined with armpit elongation. Well done. Coming down calmly and over onto your back, which is probably quite good news, isn't it? Over onto the back and resting on the back, hands underneath your head. And take 3 deep breaths. Really focus on yes through the breath. Yes through the breath. Flex the hips, that is to say, lift the feet. Let the lower back get really softened into the floor as the legs drift towards the pelvis. So the lower back gets more and more intimate with the floor. And we're going to lift the head up when we're ready. And that should affect some abdominal tone, which of course we breathe into without holding the breath. And we can experiment with efforts to lift the pelvis, or at least make it lighter. So very small range actions of rolling the legs, pulling the legs a little bit closer to the head. And perhaps the pelvis shows signs of getting lighter, if not lifted. And you can certainly feel this in the belly as you go back and forth. And oftentimes these repeated small movements have a very, very profound muscular effect that builds up. So keep moving back and forth, building up that tone, not holding the breath. Slowly bring the head down, let the elbows release. Extend both legs straight up towards the ceiling and take a deliberately deep breath in and out. Let it be followed by several natural deep breaths in and out. And feel absolutely at liberty to do anything that helps, like move your feet, like swing your legs, like release the breath, like wag the tail. From here, we're going to bring one leg down some of the way towards the floor, perhaps about halfway. And again, we're just going to gently pulse that leg down and up with a keen attention to the lower back, pay to the lower back. Keeping the jaw soft, eyes soft. So just pulsing with a very, very small range of motion, but we're very attentive to keeping the lower back intimate, soft, spacious, flowing. Okay, bring that leg up and repeat on the other similarly. So it's a very light pulsing, meaning a little down and up action with this keen attention to making sure the lower back remains in a peaceful state. No holding of the breath. Just a very small range of motion. Okay, bring it back up, bend your knees. Both knees bent to about 90 degrees. We've moved into the category that I call this time of year, I call it the mince pie earner, because if you do a few of these, it earns you a mince pie in terms of calories being burnt. So lift up your head. We're going to take opposites towards each other. We're going to turn towards the Buddha. Actually, in this room, there are many Buddhas. There's a very, very big one. We're turning towards that. It was made by my friend Indra Bodhi quite a number of years ago. Coming back to the center and then over the other way. Breathing through your nose. Keeping the jaw passive. One more with a variation on each side. The variation meaning being one leg raised, descended, and raised 3 times with a meditative focus on keeping the lower back from gripping or tightening. Obviously, we do that on both sides. Lower back, very, very intimate, very, very meditative. And then back to center, head down, feet down, breathing deep, honest, natural, expressive. Jaw soft, eyes soft, throat soft, brain soft. The softness is what we're going to focus on. It's what we are focusing on. The softness. Releasing your hands from behind your head. Raise the leg furthest away from me, straight up. Dorsey and plantar flex your foot. And you can add circles if you want, half circles. You can scrunch and unscrunch the toes at any pace that you want. Just feel natural and, flowing, conducive to flow. And when you're ready, heel in, toes out, cross that leg over the other one. Breathe through your nose if you can. Lift the foot that's on the floor off the floor. Plunge one hand through the gap and interlace around your fast shin or back thigh, or use a belt before returning your head back to the floor. I should say that you can, of course, put a block under your head if your head tips back, because that can affect your focus, as the blood vessels that run up to the brain are not as open if your head tips back. So we want to make sure that the blood pressure in the brain doesn't drop even slightly or raise up too much either. So it's important to keep the neck nice and spacious in that regard. Rolling, of course, is beneficial if you use it, if you do it right. The right way to roll is the way that conduces to absorption, isn't it? Deep, natural breaths. When you're ready, release very, very calmly. Place your feet down. Good chance to have a deep breath, isn't it? Or two or three. And no one should underestimate the power of a deep breath or two or three. They can be deeply transformative, physiologically, anatomically, psychologically, energetically. Up goes the other leg when you're ready. And similarly, dorsiplantar flex, circle, half circle, scrunch, unscrunch. Just bring some life. It's really nice. It's such a simple thing to do. But it's a really nice way to pay attention, to send a little bit of attention to your feet, which otherwise, I think, don't get too much love. And they could do with it because they work hard and they look after us. And it's really nice to give them some real attention. Heel in, toes out, cross over. When you're ready, lift up. When you're ready, plunge through when you're ready. And roll about when you're ready. And rolling in ways that are meditative. So not holding the breath. Looking for sensations that cause you to disappear. And again, this deepening of receptivity to the now imprints itself into all our systems and via all the systems through to the nerves. And the nerves are thereby invited to release what they're holding, which they can only do at nature's pace. If you throw a stone into a pond, the ripples will definitely fade eventually, but you can't speed that up. But you can make more ripples though, which, we want the lake to be calm eventually. We want yogas chitta vritti nirodha, which is kind of like the lake being calm. So to stop agitating the lake, we need awareness. Otherwise, we're agitated unconsciously, and it needs to be loving awareness. Otherwise, we're agitated consciously. Therefore, we need loving awareness, kindly awareness, deeply patient awareness. Okay, if you're ready to release, then go right ahead and do so. When you're ready, again, we're going to lift the feet. We're going to take hold of the little toe side of the feet. What some modern postural schools call Ananda Balasana. Ananda means blissful, Bala means child, but often is translated as laughing baby, which, although isn't strictly speaking correct, I think is great. Laughing baby. So I'll just remind you of some of the things that babies don't concern themselves with. Politics, their hairstyles, what they're wearing, whether it fits in or not, religion, what they might have to pay for their tax bill, what other babies think of them, whether or not they're wearing clothes. And the list, of course, goes on and on of things that babies are not concerned with at all. And so, as you roll this way and that, perhaps there can be a degree of empathy with the relative emptiness that babies possess. Of course, their moods can change so quickly because they're not holding on to anything. They can be crying their eyes out one moment, and then within a millisecond, that can be completely changed into laughter or some other mood, because it's all just flowing through them. Why? Because they're not concerned with politics, religion, hairstyle, current fashion, and so on. Okay, when you're ready, slow, calm, natural, release your feet down to the floor. Walk your feet quite close in towards the bum. Stretch your arms towards your feet, and either take a firm hold of your yoga mat, or if you've got very long arms and a very short torso, then you might find it easy to hold your shins. But buyer beware that if you hold your shins and you're not really ready for that in terms of the flexibility of the back or the length of your arms, then as we come up into the next stage, it might not feel very comfortable in the knees or the back. So only hold the shins if you know you've got a wide range of motion. Otherwise, the mat works brilliantly because you can walk down the mat and that pulls the shoulders down. Let's concentrate on the shoulders being pulled down and breathing into that. Really wonderful stretch for the sternocleidomastoids, for the descending fibers of the trapezius. It's just good all round. Light tone of the tummy, so it draws lightly in. And then we're going to raise the pelvis up. And this is the point where we turn our arms out, whether we're holding the shins or whether we're holding the mat. We turn the arms out so that the chest opens up. We breathe through the nose if we can. We keep the jaw soft. Moving up, moving down, moving left, moving right. Opening the chest as much as you can on the basis of that external rotation of the arms. Breathe if you can through your nose. Come down very, very calmly. Let your arms internally rotate as the shoulder blades move away from the spine. Walk your feet a little way away from your bum. Take 2, 3, 4, or 5, or 6 deep, deep natural breaths. Just observe the natural release of the body. Roll over in a calm, relaxed way towards the front where I am, and bend the leg that you're laying on. The other leg extends back from the inner groin to the inner foot. You lightly tone your tummy, you draw it in and pull the chest forwards as you push down, lift and turn, come down to your elbows, forearms and wrists, and breathe into it. The elbows are forwards of the shoulders a little bit. We can really massage this in with movements left and right, keeping the jaw passive, keeping the tummy drawn lightly in and chest pulled forwards. top leg on top of the bottom leg. Curl up calmly and come back down, still facing towards Indra Bodhi's marvelous Buddha. Although I think he's lost his Bodhic protuberance. I think he used to have a little gold head topper. I don't know if that's a word, a head topper. Anyway, he had one of them. Don't know where it's gone. Where's that gone? Extend your inner groin, tone your tummy, push, lift, and turn. Not only was that made by Indra Bodhi, but it was gold gilded by Karunavira, who was one of my first yoga teachers. And so that's auspicious that we're here with this lovely Buddha. Breathe through your nose. Experiment with meditative movement. Experiment with meditative movement. So that's left, that's right, that's forwards, that's backwards. I think it's nice to really investigate the muscles around the back. It can be really nice. Top leg on top of the bottom leg. Curl calmly up and lay down on your tummy. So lay straight down on your tummy, on your front. One hand on top of the other, head resting on the hands. Breathing through your nose. Stretch your legs back one at a time so that you actually lengthen. You actually feel length coming through the legs and the thighs face straight down. In other words, the heels don't turn in. From this position, lift your head and bring yourself up onto your forearms. Stretch your tummy forwards several times. So you suck your tummy in. You might pull the left side of the tummy. You might pull the right side of the tummy. It's useful, I think, to find the pelvic floor as a sort of energetic support. That is a support of the energy or awareness in the central channel, staying in the central channel. So it supports the energy or awareness. Sometimes we use these words like energy or kundalini. It can make it sound quite other, but it's just awareness. It's just another name for consciousness. Now from here, making sure those thighs face straight down and we've really lengthened the tummy, we're going to bring our arms back by our sides, thumbs on the floor. Avoid turning your heels in. Breathe through your nose. Raise your legs up a little way without turning the heels in. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Some people, but not most, might want to take this through to Dhanurasana. That is to reach back and take hold of the shins. That's or ankles or feet. That's an option you can take if you wish. Either way, you stay as long or as short as feels right before coming back to the original position we were in with one hand resting on the other and the legs and head down, but you stay as long or as short as you like. When you do come down, as I say, it's resting one hand on top of the other, resting your head and taking 3 or 4 or 5 really deep breaths, 3 or 4 or 5 really deep breaths. Jaw soft, eyes soft. Tuck under the toes if you need to so that you can roll over and come up gently from the side. We're going to sit on 1 or 2 blocks for Bharadvajasana. We've got a lot of Buddha images and Bodhisattva images down here, but we don't have any of early Arahats, that is the early enlightened monastic community. But if we did, we'd probably find that they were sitting with their legs over to one side, as we are going to do here. So legs over to one side on 1 or 2 blocks, the shin of one foot in the arch of the other. Bharadvaja is the name of dozens of different followers of the Buddha and interlocutors with the Buddha.
Inhale, lift and turn away from your feet, but try to keep that back leg settled and eyes soft. Jaw relaxed as well. Eyes settled. Jaw soft. Back leg settled. Jaw soft. Breathing deep. Eyes soft. Beautiful. Calmly return to center and extend very calmly and with love. Your legs out in front of you. An energy bath. A really, dynamic and everywhere. Please don't miss any part of the body. It's easy to forget some of it, but double check, be thorough, practice upeksha, that is equanimity or equality, and don't miss out any cell. It would feel mean. It feels like a little cell that didn't get an energy rub, and then it was there, or, oh, where's my energy rub? So make sure you rub everywhere. And when you're ready for the second side and you're feeling revitalized, then the legs go over the other side. Sometimes it's useful to lift and shift the bum. We're going to lift and turn when we feel ready, but without lifting the back leg. Breathing through the nose. Jaw soft, calm, relaxed, easeful, natural, meditative, breath-centered. Return to center. Pick any comfortable seated position. I'm going for Siddhasana, and therefore I'm turning my blocks so the short end faces forwards, or you can sit on a cork block, or you can sit on two block, or you can sit in a kneeling position, or whatever works. But Siddhasana is, if you're not sure, and if Siddhasana is comfortable for you, then that's what I'd recommend. Our chest is lifted, breathing's easy. We're going to do one round of the Tsalung Trulkur for the Vyana Vayu, the all-over energy. So we're going to breathe right down into the pelvic floor, hold the breath there, then we'll take the following action. So here's a very brief demonstration. Oh, by the way, the inhale is taken in steps, little steps. For the sake of speed, with the demonstration, I only did 3 on each side, and you might want to do just 3 on each side if the breath feels tight, or you can do 5 on each side. Remember, we're taking the breath in little inhale steps, holding the breath, and then taking those actions. So when we're ready, let's take the breath in little steps. Sitting in Rigpa, which is a Tibetan word meaning or pointing to being completely and utterly in the middle of all experiences, not drawn to any polarities that might surround that center, that still center. We remain in that midpoint where all possibilities are open, but we've reached for nothing in particular. Sometimes it's called emptiness, sometimes it's called centeredness, sometimes it's called the origin, sometimes it's called the foundation. And sometimes it's simply called Buddha Dhatu, the essence of Buddha. We're going to come to laying on our backs when we're ready. So, and
We've got about 1 minute, but no rush. Can be a very, very chilled 1 minute. And of course, if you're at home, you can lay longer. Everything soft. Jaw, forehead, back of the head, the throat, the shoulders, the chest, the back ribs, the front ribs, the soft belly tissue, the lower back to the crest of the pelvis, the left buttock, the right buttock, the hip points, the left leg, the right leg, the sole of the left foot, the sole of the right foot, the left and right toes, the whole body. Feel into your body as if it were something new, with a little natural movement of your toes and fingers. Taking natural stretches. When you feel ready, bend your legs and place the feet onto the floor. Roll over onto your side facing, away from the Buddha, the side of the room, laying as comfortably as you can there. Then rolling back towards the Buddha side of the room. Letting in light and color. Bringing yourself up calmly from the side in your own time. Hands to a prayer position as we face towards the shrine. May any benefit that we've gained in our acting in this way go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings. Om. And there we can hear in the distance a Sanders version of Om as well. Thanks so much, everyone, for coming. Thank you so much, Zoomers, and Happy Christmas. This is the last class I'll be doing for the general public, as it were. But of course, you can still do classes on my YouTube, and you could still possibly come on my retreat, I suppose, the Winter Solstice retreat. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you either there or from January the 3rd. I'll be back on.
Happy Christmas, Jim.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, happy Christmas. Good to see you guys. Bye.